Hey YouTube, so I'm installing an aftermarket subwoofer and amp system on a 2006 Chevy Silverado, and I've looked at 100 videos or more, and there's nothing that really gives me a good indication of what's a good ground point for my amplifier. And I thought I had wired everything up really good, and I had no output from my amplifier to my sub, and I knew that my subwoofer could do a lot better than it was doing. So right now I'm trying to find a good ground location for my amplifier, and to do that I've got a test lead hooked up to my negative terminal with my battery. I've ran it through the truck back to the back. Now I thought, you could see my wiring for the new aftermarket stereo and everything. I thought I'd done a really good job trying to make everything look professional, and I'd set up a real good ground point here. Hope you guys can see that, but I did etch the surface. I took a wire brush and everything and took it down to bare metal, double secured it. I mean, that thing doesn't move. And when I test for voltage at the positive and negative terminals, I'm getting 14 volts with the truck running, but at my speaker leads, I get nothing coming out. So I took my multimeter and tested the ground, and it's just saying open line. So now I'm trying to figure out a good grounding point, and I've been checking these studs, so I could just use something that's already here, but all of these are giving me an open line indication on the multimeter. So I'm going to try to figure something out to get a good ground point without having to get a new ground wire, and just be able to use what I have here. Okay, what I got so far is right here, just inside the passenger door. I drilled a hole. As you can see, I scraped away the paint and everything. I put a bolt with 2 lock washers, two regular washers, and on the underside of that, as an added protection, I've ran just some automotive wire that I got at Walmart from that bolt, following just this wire harness here towards the front of the truck. So right here I passed over this frame. Just kept following to a known ground. So I see they had wired up right off the harness, ground wires right here to the frame. So I put an eyelet on the end of my wire there and just unbolted this, slipped the eye of the connector right through the bolt, and then bolted it back on. And you can see I just followed the existing harness. Okay, now that I've got all the wiring cleaned up and everything, and we did this bolt right here, we've essentially grounded this whole inside frame here. So what I did was cut a little slit in my carpet and ran my ground wire here. Of course, I cleared off the area and made sure that it was nice and clean. I ended up running a ground lead right off of my alternator. What I did was take this bolt out, used some automotive wire, soldered a connector on there, and just fed the bolt right through the connector, and then tried to feed it down along existing wiring harnesses And yes, I used really bright colored zip ties and stuff. I'll show you what I did down here. Right under here, you can see I ran my negative right here to this ground point, and I saw that there was already existing ground points here. And I had ran a lead all the way across that harness back to a little grounding point, a grounding stud that I made. And I'll get up closer to that. But anyhow, this has been the best thing so far. So I thought I had her whooped before, but now I've really got good results. So I've got a test lead going up to my battery, and I'm set to ohms right now. And I'll just show you on the amplifier. If I go right to the negative terminal, I'm sitting right at 0. And that's perfect. So, I'll show you some of the other things I did down here to really reinforce my ground. I'm laying on my back looking up. I had cleared off the paint and drilled a hole and brought this lead over here to this bolt, put a bolt through it, and that's the one that comes down this wire harness. But to go a step further, I drilled a hole here, cleared the paint off of it and everything, used a thicker gauge wire with copper ends, and went straight up to my little grounding stud that I made. This is just a short jump right to the frame. But when I was measuring the resistance, I had like 10 ohms of resistance. So now, between all these Frankenstein wires I've put on here, the one going from the alternator casing to that ground location up there, I've got 0 ohms of resistance, which should work out pretty dang good. Okay, I'm back with my 2006 Chevy Silverado. I've got all the wiring ran. That ground lead right there now goes down to a good grounding point underneath the vehicle. All of my amplifier wires have been tucked away. Everything's been put back together. And I mean, I could do something with the little bit of extra wire I got here and tuck that away a little nicer, but once the seat is folded up, you won't even see that. And I have another box for 2 10s coming that's custom fit to fit underneath the back seats. But just to recap, that ground wouldn't be possible without running a wire from my alternator casing. But now that I've done that, the sound on the little subwoofer, it's just 110, it sounds phenomenal. Now, I'm just playing the radio. When I have a CD or a iPod hooked up or doing a bass test, it's incredibly loud for a 10-inch subwoofer. But I hope this video was helpful for any of you Chevy guys trying to install an aftermarket system. I hope this video helps you get your ground wire set up. Thanks for watching.